Today's the 2-year anniversary of my first release, which is why it's important to go back to where it all started, Little Italy, Montreal, 2019. This neighborhood would eventually open up a lot of doors for me, which allowed me for the first time in my life to actually make some money, or at least more money than I ever saw before.
Why did you call me GION Social?
It's the first thing that clicked in my mind. Your name is Jonathan, and then you do social media.
At the time, my relationship with music was just this cathartic outlet I was using to process what I was going through. Something my therapist actually suggested I tried doing. And thanks to my job, I was able to afford this, let's say, expensive supplement to therapy.
Little Italy is an important neighborhood because this is technically where everything really started for me.
And this is where Johnny Social came in. You see, the more my ambition for music grew, the more embarrassed I became with the fact that I was essentially a restaurant photographer and social media manager for small to mid-sized businesses, which is why I've kept it a secret until now. 2 years later, some things have really changed, and I guess I've done some pretty cool stuff. You see, I had no guarantees when I released my music. I had nothing but songs, visuals, and just the hope that people would connect with it, and it would help them the way that making these songs helped me. I started with no guarantees, ground zero, without connections, the industry. I just knew that I had to do this for me.
Obviously, a rue barrée. My life feels like a rue barrée.
And although some things have changed, a lot has really stayed the same. It turns out I've gotten pretty good with the whole social media marketing thing. Good enough that some businesses are starting to give me the opportunity for equity and partnership in exchange for me helping conceptualize and create their brand. One of my more recent ones being with this gentleman named Ubaldo. It's also given me the opportunity to partner with a company that can supply and create my own merch on demand.
When you have some hiccups, that's what happens.
It's been frustrating because no matter how hard I've tried to put a body of work to prove I'm an artist worth signing, I've currently been rejected by every single one here in Canada. They know who I am, but none believe in the music enough to sign me. And there's been times where I felt like the biggest contradiction. How could I feel so deeply called and convinced to do something and yet deal with one disappointment and failure after the next? Like the time we traveled to Toronto and I was convinced I was going there to close a deal with a record label. I ended up signing a trial contract with a management company only to be dropped when we weren't able to close a deal with a label. All this to say, I'm still in Little Italy, millions and millions of streams later. It's also been tough, but not just for me, for the many restaurants and businesses I've worked with. Before everything happened, I went from having 28 clients to now having 6, which is why I'm so grateful for those who've never stopped using my services. I even started taking pictures and videos of real estate to help. But every time I go to the studio, which is actually located in the underground parking lot of a dentist, I remember why I've sacrificed so much. Because me fighting for my music is me fighting for the life and future I want to build, one where I love what I do. Releasing music has become both the biggest blessing and the biggest curse. It's become the biggest blessing because I've never felt more myself doing anything. And it's become the biggest curse because anything other than music has felt meaningless. I guess I'm in a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. I can't continue making music unless I work, but the more I work, the less time I have for music. So I've been working. The music industry isn't designed for independent artists to make it, so when the rare ones do, they end up being signed for significant amounts of money, which is why if I'm gonna make it, it's gonna take something significant, something I've never done before.